Hello, everyone. I think it's time. So it's 2 p.m. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. This is the IETF 125 IV Working Group meeting. My name is Qiu Fang, and my co-chair, Daniela, is sitting next to me, and our AD, Mahesh, is sitting in the room as well. So this is a Note 12 slide. This is actually a set of rules and policies that you are expected to follow when you participate in the IETF. So IETF participants are expected to behave in a professional manner and extend our respect and courtesy to our colleagues. And if you are aware of any IETF contributions, is covered by any patents or patent applications that are owned by you or someone else, you have the responsibility to disclose that. So for more details, if you are not really familiar with this, please feel free to take a look at a couple of documents given in this slide. And for advice, please feel free to reach out to chairs or ADs if you like. So the meeting tips. So please be aware that this session is being recorded. For in-person participants, we please make sure to sign into the session via the data tracker or scanning the QR code in this session so that we can track your presence. And please, we suggest you to use the Meet Echo Lite client to join the queue and also participate in the show of hands to give a polling result. And please also, if you are using the on-site version, just keep your audio and video off. For remote participants, make sure your audio and video are off unless you are actively speaking. Use a headset is strongly recommended. The note taking, please, we need 1 or 2 volunteers to help us take notes. Just the discussion needs to be captured, so please feel free to help. So our session today will be 1 hour and a half, and the materials is available. So this is, again, this is a reminder to work remote because we only have 3 meetings for a year. Most of the time we are working remote. So we remind the working group to make good use of the mailing list. Any working group consensus is determined on the mailing list. And mailing list is used for make the decisions and discussions. You can use it to resolve the open issues of your draft, review changes to other working group documents, and also introduce your new drafts as well as discuss the potential new working group items and topics. So we can arrange virtual interns as needed or periodically. So if you would like to see some topic being discussed, you can make requests to working group chairs and we will arrange that as needed. And we could also have the informal working group resources, the working group WebEx meeting. Any working group member can make requests to chairs and we will arrange that as well. Please be aware that these meetings are completely public and everyone can join that discussion. The meetings will also be announced on the working group list. So here is our agenda today. As usual, we don't have a very packed agenda, but we always use the whole session to discuss this. So after the chair's presentation, I think Bo, as the leading author, will present the inventory location and the inventory topology work. These are the working group items that we expect could be cross the finish line as soon as possible. And also followed by Ehua to present the passive network inventory work. This is also I think it has been discussed for a lot of times, but maybe there's some like the discussion, the definition or scope that needs to be agreed. So, Diego will present the entitlement inventory because Diego is busy with working as a delegate for the other session now. So he has requested to be scheduled later. And then I think Italo will give a report on the hackathon project on the network inventory related implementation. Any agenda question? Okay. The working group status.
Thank you. So this is going to be short. This is an update on the status of our drafts. Most of them will be presented during our session, so I will not waste your time repeating what you will hear after that. So the first one, the core model, that will not be presented because we are very close to the finish line. The draft has been submitted to the ASG, so we can say that we are close to end the work on that. Or better, end the work on the 1.0 version, because we agreed at a certain point that there were more and more things to be added. We decided to have a 1.0 version that it will now be delivered to the SG for publication, and a new version. The working group decided to work on a new version to cover the things that have been left out. Then we have the network inventory topology, which is in agenda. It will be presented, but the draft is pretty stable, and it's probably the next one in our backlog to be ready for the working group last call and to be shipped to the ASG. The inventory location is on agenda. The inventory software part is not in agenda. I don't know if Bo is willing to give us an update on the status of the draft. Thank you.
Okay. Bo from Huawei. Yes, the software inventory has not been updated since last IETF meeting, and the model and the draft is pretty much mature. The last issue we found out is the example, and another point is that we need to update the reference to the base inventory because some attributes has been changed. That's one. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And then finally, we have the entitlement inventory, which is in agenda, and Diego will present later today. We don't have any liaison, nor incoming nor outgoing since last meeting. So that's it for the intro. We can move to the first presenter. You show the slides. I can do that. No worries, no worries. Just a second. Yes.
Check. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bo, and on behalf of all my co-authors and contributors, I will give an update on this network inventory location model. So here is a summary of the changes since uh, last IETF. In this version 5, we resolved 5 major issues. And although we still have 2 open issues from Matt's review comments, that is the 2 open issue I will talk about. We, in this version 5, we resolved 5 major issues. I will work it through one by one. The first one is unclear data authority. Previous version, we don't define the clear authority of this location data. Uh, and it could be like from inventory OSS or the controller itself. But in this version 5, we define controller as a single source of truth of this model. That means controller only report the data directly to inventory OSS, and this model will not support read-write configuration attributes. And the next major issue is bidirectional reference risk. You can see the figure below the table. In the last revision, we have both bidirectional references here. One is the base inventory augmenting with the location rec ref, and also the location can referring to the network elements chassis reference. And we think that may lead to reference risk if there's a two reference there and be configured. So in the version 5, we only keep unidirectional reference only. That means only have location to network elements. And the third issue is caused by the second change because we remove the location ref and rec ref from the network elements. That made the non-rec deployment has no location links. The examples of non-rec network elements could be access points or some pole-mounted devices. And the first one is operational guidance. We have limited description how to use this location model. And in the version 5, we added explicitly said that this model will be specified to the scope of controller to inventory interface. And on the example ones, we also added 2 JSON examples. One is access points, the other is distributed switches. So that is the overall of this, the 5 major changes. And this is the overall module updates. The left one is the old YAM module, and the right one is the new one. And you can see that in the 0.4 version, we still have the reference to the base inventory that is read-write of augmentation to the base inventory. Now we remove that to be consistent with base inventory. Base inventory doesn't need to be support read-write attributes definition. And on the major 2 YAM module changes in version 5 is the architecture one. You can see that all the attributes is read-only one. And the other major changes that you can see, I mentioned there's a non-rec network elements reference that we added a contain chassis under the location list to cover that use cases. So I will move on to talk about the two open issues. The first one is about the read-only versus read-write approach. Uh, the first option is a read-write approach. This approach supports like inventory OSS can confide location data into the controller, and uh, that is the inventory location OSS is external system to the controller. That's a quite typical use case of the network controller, and location data is supposed can also support the location data cannot be discovered by the network controller. That's a previous version. In the the second approach is read-only. That is a current version 5 supported. So I also put the two figures to show what's the difference of the two approaches. The version 5 one, you can see that the specific spoke of this location model is between network controller and inventory OSS. And together with network base inventory location data is to report um, the enrichable information to the inventory OSS. And the assumption of a possible implementation could be that there has been already some automatic RFID tooling can give this location information to network controller. And another implementation is that the network controller support GUI interface that administrator can manually setting the location data into the network controller. So that is the current version 5 supported. But we received a comment from Brad. His concern is that access network are planning driven. That means the data, the location data, is mainly the authority of the location data is from planning OSS. So on the right, I show the picture of the access network use case that I understood from the Brad's text. And he's suggesting that the location is not only supporting the read only, but also the read write attributes that inventory OSS can send the location data directly to controller. But if location module support this approach, that may lead to inventory location data conflict. That's the possible conflict because network controller also supports location from people manually set or also from RFID tooling. So in that way, network controller needs to resolve the conflicts. So that's an issue we understand from Brad's review. And I would like to give uh, the Ivy Monday side meeting discussion on how to resolve this issue. We the based on the discussion and understanding, we actually identify two distinct use cases. One is extra location data for reporting to inventory OSS, and the other is intent-based in-store and deployment. So we think this location model, this is not specific to location model, this is to base network inventory model also. So our proposal is that we still think the current model and current use cases is also a correct one, that network controller should report base inventory and together with location data to the inventory OSS. But in the future, we can define intended based install and deployment model um, to support this intent basis use cases. So I like to hear opinion from working group.
So your proposal is to start the read-only, and then in a second phase, change it and make it read-write.
Yes, that's our like the outcome from the side meetings proposal.
Okay. Is there any question here? Anyone willing to share an opinion on whether we should continue with the read-only approach or in a second phase should we go and allow for writing? I have some doubts about the planning thing in the sense that so the provisioning of a service is intent based, but I don't understand what is the intent based part in a location. Location is
Yes,
core is
there,
location. So what is the intent?
there's a discussion. I think Italo, you mentioned that there could be you plan the network elements will be installed in a site, and then the work order is sent to that, and the network elements is put up. Then it will be connected to the controller, and then you send out the configuration.
Okay, but then this the problem of possible misalignment between the OSS and the controller is something that doesn't just apply to location, but it potentially applies to everything that
Yes, our the
that can
whole
go read write, right?
yes, the whole inventory
So
package.
the plan is to have this phase one and phase two read only, read write just for the location, or in general apply it also to other areas.
I understand it also applies to the base inventory and software inventory, and also entitlement also the
Okay.
other one.
And how are you thinking to address potential misalignment issues? One of the two is the source of truth, and the other one needs to align, or is there any mean to solve these problems that you are thinking of?
The Brad mentioned that we could specify our use case in the model and see that this is only for the like base inventory and location data that already being maintained by network controller. But other than that, it's not not in the scope of current base inventory and also the location model.
We have IUI Italo in the queue. Do you want to take questions now, comments, or that's the agenda? Now is okay?
Yes, I want to.
Okay. I think it's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we had discussions about this on yesterday's side meeting. So basically we agree that to considering two things. One is the current progress of the base inventory draft. And also there's a good demand, very good, strong demand to get it published, so it can be adopted by also other organizations, right? So that's the consideration why we wanted to move forward with the first release of being read-only, but then also realizing that in the next phase, so location is one thing that, according to the use case, need to have the right capabilities. But then also, I'd like also mention about passive inventory, which is the same thing, same situation. And I wanted to point out that if we eventually also put use the model passive inventory as a part of the base above the base network inventory, the fact that base inventory becomes read-only well restrict what we can do with passive inventory. So basically, these the passive inventory as well as the location needs to be we need to do a revision of the base network inventory to support write mode, so we can continue with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in case of misalignment between the two entities with rights,
Yeah. So
you keep it as out of scope, or you are planning to mandate I don't know, a behavior. One is always right and stuff like that.
I think we touched upon a few options. I think we are still under discussion. It's not really we don't have a solution yet. Yeah.
Okay.
But the minimum is we can push it outside of the scope of the document, because it's the controller would have to deal with all those inconsistencies
Exactly.
in any way, right?
Okay.
If we find a better way to standardize that, which I don't think it will be for a particular model, but for all for a method, in maybe we can talk to NetMod and yeah, but we haven't.
Given you are at the beginning of this discussion, can you move the discussion to the mailing list, please? I mean,
Yeah.
everyone that is interested in this
Sure, yeah.
discussion gets it on the calls, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. But I mean,
Yeah, that's
in
what
the
we,
mailing list, we have more chances to reach a wider audience.
yeah, that was one of the agreements we have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Italo Busi, Huawei. Yeah, just to clarify, I fully agree with your comments. This is something we need to discuss, and that's one of the reasons why we propose to go into the two phases. We also noticed that these issues are not only for location, applies also to base inventory as well as to passive inventory. So one idea could be maybe to do in the revision of the base inventory, go to read write and have all this operational consideration, because it's very simple to make a config true. The complexity is what you say, what happens if there is, and then we will discuss all of them. And the idea was, let's go ahead with this draft as it is, and once we have the base inventory made rewrite, we can realign also this draft with that one.
So Mahesh speaking as a contributor. So I had similar questions as Danielle. One is, what are the two phases? Is it like we publish a version of the draft and we go through a BIS version, and now we're talking about dependency between models? I think that's a lot of churn, if I might say so, that you would be going through. Because now you have to follow the same sequence. You have to go back to the base inventory, change it. That would then allow the other models to also change. And more than me, actually, I want to turn to the operators. We have a few operators in the room. What do you think about, as you think about the model, do you feel that churn is desirable? Or how would you like to see this? Sorry if I'm putting you on a spot.
Now move on to the next one.
We have a Brad that is trying
Oh.
to speak.
Italo is still
I
in
was,
the queue.
I was just going to answer
Italo,
the
go ahead.
question of, I think the churn's good if you end up with a usable result, right?
I'm not sure what
Sorry, can you repeat, Brad?
He said that the churn is desirable, or at least acceptable, if it leads to something that is usable.
Yep, correct.
Thank you.
Please, Ito.
Yes, I would like to reply a bit to Mahesh. I don't think it's a big churn, it's an evolution, because moving from read-only to rewrite is not backward compatible. So everything which works, which assume that the server is read-only will continue to work. It's just that you enable new applications. So it's just like adding new attributes or adding new capabilities to the system. It's not a non-backward compatible change that requires you to do retrofit. So it's in line with the idea of having a face-to-face. Otherwise, we need to finish everything before we can publish or we can deploy. So it's more allowing going into phased, but adding stuff.
I will agree that on the aspect of Yang, whether it's backward compatible change, yes, that's not really the problem. It's in the ability of the working group to then turn around and quickly publish all the changes together. Just this, you know how it takes time in IETF to publish anything. That's where my concern is coming.
No, yes, I agree with that. But I mean, the reason why we added this approach of phase 1 and phase 2 is that in the meanwhile we deliver it, it's usable, and so the new version phase 2 will just allow new use cases.
And I'm looking forward for Veloce.
Yeah. Yes.
Nigel?
Yeah, I just wanted to just support what Islo said. And just a quick point as well. I don't think Brad said the churn was desirable. I think he said the churn was acceptable. But anyway, so but yeah, no, I want to support Islo on that, and we need to deliver stuff. It's critical we do that, and this is a useful staging point, in my opinion. The second thing I was going to say is, as we move forward into the world of LLMs, which we're sort of in now, I think some of these transitions will become more straightforward, actually, because we'll get a lot of support in validation of models and looking at mappings and mapper generation and so on from that environment. So I think we're moving into a different space where hopefully we can move a bit faster with some of the stuff here.
Thank you. Please, Bob.
I'll move on to the next. This one is quick. This open issue is also from Brad. The current rec attributes only define some rec dimensions, but Brad commented rec could also need some classification attributes to support security workflow or work orders to support, like different rack has different case and needs different work orders. So the author is proposing that we add this rack classification as read-only to the current Yang model. And in yesterday's site meeting, Brad mentioned this can solve his concern in some degree. So we also like to hear if there are other opinions on this. So if there's good with this, we can directly edit it here. I see there's no comments on this, so I think Brad is also online, so.
Continue.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was suggesting to ask the question on the mailing list to get more, but yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. I'm just sorry, I have got microphone issues, but yeah, it's basically just the characteristics of the rack, right? Because there's different types of rack, and you get security racks that are lockable, right? So generally in Australia, 3 different versions in terms of Class A, Class B, and Class C racks, but that's really where the question originated from.
Thank you, Brad.
Paul started. don't have many answers, but at least there is a consensus.
Thank you. Thank working group for this feedback on this. So
But I mean, in any case, I would ask again on the mailing list
yes,
to reach
we will.
who's not here today.
Yes. So I think this is our last slide, and we will. Our next step is that we will finalize the discussion on these two on the mailing list also, and then if it goes smoothly, we will. It's we are, our planning is that working group last call before last next IETF, not 127. Yeah. I think
There
there is
any other comments? Otherwise, we will move to the next presentation. Are you sharing? No, yeah.
So me again. So on behalf of my co-authors, I will also give the update of this inventory topology model. This is just to give some quick recap on what this inventory topology is. You can see that on the left-hand side, there's a group of inventory models, and the topology actually is a separate one. It augments the topology with inventory references to support some use cases such as service provisioning or some SIMAP, word if, that kind of use cases. And we also provide a link to track all the open issues here. You can check if you you have your comments on this document. And here is a major summary of the key changes of version 6. There are two issues identified by the authors. The first one is read-only. We now change several attributes into configurable attributes. That is to support manual configuration for non-discoverable resources, such as the example could be C and PE interfaces and some list line links. And we also add a section operational consideration to give the usage of this topology model. And we also resolved the two open issues. One is remove reverse navigation, that is inventory to topology. This open issue is raised by Italo, and so in this model, we will focus on only on topology to inventory use cases. And the second one is about the cable name leaf issue. It's also be raised by Italo because these attributes may have some overlap with the passive inventory model. I see, Olga, you mentioned you like to comment? Okay, thanks. Okay, I will go on. So here is the overall of inventory topology tree, and this new version incorporate all the comments from Italo, Oscar, Iva, and Olga. I think thanks for all your helpful comments to improve this. And you can see that we remove several may have some redundancy from the definition. You can see we removed all the network elements, base inventories, augmentation, that is node ref, network ref, because that can be derived from topology to inventory. And second, you can see that we remove cable name because I will talk about that in the next slide. This have some overlap with the passive inventory definition. And you can see that on the new Young structure, we have several attributes changed to the read-write. That is, the node can referring to network elements reference and also link type, and also the termination point to referring to the port component. That's a major changes. The first issue that we resolved in this version is bidirectional navigation between topology and inventory. We used to have like bidirectional feature definition and support bidirectional reference. In this version, we changed to one-way only um, because there's a discussion on the mailing list between Italo and the authors. The concern is that there are two feature defined that could be have some interoperability concern, and if there are both references from topology to inventory, and there could be inconsistency reference risk. So that's the reason we recommends to change one way only. So that way we can simplify the Young structure and simplify the implementation to avoid two features definition. So if there's, I'd like to hear some feedback on this open issue resolved. Whether have some concern of the, we now have on
Okay,
one way only.
Yeah.
Do your comment is relevant with this open issue?
I think it's a great proposal. I completely agree with you. Sorry, I raised my hand for the end. So if somebody has some comments in between, please jump into the queue. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is bidirectional one. And then we remove cable name. Before we have cable name defined to support the like direct cable connection between the two network elements. In this way, in some implementation, there's may not have some cable list inventory developed. So we think cable name can also give some information on the how these two network elements directly connected. But that may lead to some confusion if there's a passive inventory defined. What will be the cable name is that part of passive inventory's cable attributes. And the other thing is that when we use a cable name that has assumption that cable has already been have an inventory list of cables. So we agree that this may have some overlap with passive inventory, and we are expecting if passive inventory define the cable inventory can augmenting the topology model with the cable references. So either not directly to the link, because if there's like the figure showed on the right underneath, that if there are two FDT between NEs and there will be several segments of cables. If there's only one cable name, that will not give the good tracking information of the cables if there are several cable segments between network elements. So that's a reason we also propose to change this. So that is the cable name. And the other issue I didn't mention because we haven't resolved this in the document. That is whether nodes and network elements of base inventory is that one-to-one mapping or it's multiple to one mapping. So currently in the Young model definition, we directly explicitly define that there is a one-to-one mapping between the node and the network elements, and also the port to the the termination point to the port component. And we think this can simplify the mapping. And we think if there's a multiple to one, it could be being defined in like layer 2, layer 3, T topology. Those topology can support abstract, like several virtual topologies, so it doesn't need to be defined to inventory topology. So the author's proposal is that to keep one-to-one mapping in the model, and we will explicitly add the text that this document specifies one-to-one mapping. And we'll also add the data text to see that the many-to-many abstraction are intentionally excluded from a model that will be handled in other topology models. So if there is no opinion or comment on this, I think that's all from my presentation. And we think we ready. Oh, Olga, please.
Let's move to the comments. Olga is the first.
Hi, thank you. We should have probably presented here. We did a hackathon on the knowledge graph where we imported CMAP, we imported base inventory, passive inventory, and network topology, and sorry, network topology inventory, Young. And semantically, for the base inventory, there were no issues. All traceability is there, and we were able to connect everything. Of course, we don't have for passive topology, there is no link there, you know. So I know that you are planning maybe to do it. We had 3 comments in general about it. The preference would be, why would you have 2 different topology inventories? Why wouldn't you put it in a single one, like, you know, whether it's passive or non-passive from the perspective of topology? It would be then fileable through the type of the devices or MEs. So that was the first comment. Like, so what we would need is extending the node for the passive device, although we don't, the preference would be that it's single type of the entity network element or device that incorporates both of them, because why would you model them differently if you have some base commonality between them, like ID, name, etc. You know, so that's our recommendation, but we were not involved in modeling, so this is just a kind of high-level comment. The second thing is we need a relationship from link to cable, like type. I don't know, it's descriptive, but it's not really. We need a ref to the cable. And the third comment would be, why does the cable have A end and B end when we already have the link between nodes in topology? So in that respect, there is a duplication. If I ask Copilot what's inventory, what's topology, it tells me inventory is a list of assets, topology is the how they are connected. So from my perspective, what we have in the top level cable, A side and Z side, is something that we should have in the topology. So these are the high level comments. So maybe we will present like and share on the mailing list the hackathon results, but I already shared everything at the side meeting yesterday. So
I'm not sure the comment is to this model or it's to passive inventory.
It's both for passive and this model. Like one comment is that we would, the reason, I don't understand the reason why this doesn't include a connection to the passive inventory. I think this should be generic inventory, topology inventory relation. And if you model passive device as network element, you would have a NE. If you model the other things as components, you would already have it, and then the link would need a reference to the cable ID.
Yeah.
And then the comment about passive inventory is,
Mhm.
why do you have A and Z when it's already in the topology? Why do you have topology in the inventory?
Yeah. I think I think our authors has discussed this. We think this is a general one because the passive inventory is one type of inventory. I mean the cable, and there could be like a Wi-Fi seed, right? And also there could be lease line inventories.
Yeah.
That would be, I think there's more than passive inventory. There will be, if there's other cases, then they can augment this general topology to enrich this.
But we do need traceability, you know. I want traceability for physical to service. I want traceability for service to physical if
Yes.
possible. So if I don't have that
Mhm.
semantics relationship to cable and passive device,
Yeah.
I cannot figure out where the problem may be.
We suggest this is will be part of passive inventory. Like passive inventory may also have a module that augmenting the topology.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I would just clarifying I would say this point. There are two aspects here. The first one is that passive inventory is currently not within, I would say, the adopted documents in AV. So this is just, I would say, procedural stuff. The other point is that we see that we, at least in this document, we focus on the basic, I would say, nodes that allow us to glue, I would say, the inventory and topology. And what we say in this document is that if there are other extensions to the base, I would say, model, it's up to this document to define the navigation from there to the topology. So that augmentation should be done in the passive, and this is actually already documented in the document.
Yes.
So your point is valid, but it should not be handled here. And it's up to the passive topology to show how they will be doing that navigation. So the augmentation should be done there.
So you are saying if there is no passive topology, passive inventory at all, only cables, they would be modeled in the passive inventory, and your relationship will not have a link to the physical.
Cable, not to the cable one. Yes. Only network elements and the port components.
Adopted document for that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but logically it does make
Yes,
sense.
I know,
Okay.
but this is I wish a mix between the scoping of the work and this is also I say the phased approach that we have. I say agree with and discussed early on. So yeah, I think this is not optimal, but this is what we have today, and we just need I would say to build on on step by step, and at least the recommendation we are providing here. Yeah, there are other levels in which we'll be needing to have the navigation. Please, when you are defining new augmentation to the base model, if you need the navigation to be there, consider also to have the augmentation in those extensions. That's a basic, I would say, recommendation that we are giving here. And it's really good that you are raising this point so that everyone, I would say, is aware about this. It's not optimal, but that's what we have.
Yeah. Thanks, Olga. If you can send these comments, good comments to the mailing list, we'll help to clarify this. Thanks. So any other comments?
I'm the next in line, but
Okay.
my comment is different. I don't know if Italo yours is related, and we wanted to conclude on this before switching.
Yes, okay. Matt saying that it's going to go to this component passive inventory, maybe we can discuss that. But can you go one slide back?
This one?
One, where there was the figures with
Oh,
the
figure.
yeah.
The cable one.
The cable one, yes. So the reason why the current design is done is because the passive node are currently not intended to be reported into the inventory. So that's why what we have, and there was exactly a discussion about no need to navigate from link to cable, because
Yes.
you have to navigate from the TP to the port, and then you have to follow the connection on the cables. Another option that we discussed yesterday may be to expose also the passive devices and network elements, and then I think we can have a link, a navigation from the link to the cable and avoid the A and Z in the passive. This is something we need to discuss. the pros and cons of this approach. I think you raised the point that we need to discuss a little bit more.
Have a requirement in CMAP that Brad brought, that passive inventory, that we have to trace topology from the service to the passive and from the passive to the service. So we need a relationship. It can be done properly modeled, or it can be some kind of solution which is not ideal. If it's multiple ones, then whoever is using those relationships has to understand the differences and goes into technical, which is not ideal because you should just follow the path, but it's your kind of solution.
I
So
say there is a word to discuss at this point. I agree. The current solution allows you to navigate, but I agree with you, is not navigating the way you like, and we can discuss which one is the best one. It's not stable. Last point, if you don't have passive inventory, you cannot navigate from the link to the cable because you don't have the information about the cable. So in that sense, also the point of MED, to navigate from the link to the cable, you need a passive inventory. You can define there what to do. That makes sense to me.
Brad gave us for the hackathon, Brad is part of the hackathon, he gave us the instances and we were able to incorporate schema and some instances, but traceability was missing.
Okay, instead my comment was more related to the one of the changes, which was to introduce read-write. Yes, that one, number one. So we said that phase one will be read-only. If you are already introducing read-write, it means that you are waiting for the BIS to be delivered for phase two, which puts this draft on hold until we go through the process for the BIS. Is this what you want to do?
Like current RFC, like the network model, it's already read-write.
Oh, sorry, it's the topology. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'll take it back.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
This was the last useless comment, and then we go to the next presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good.
Exactly.
So, yeah, this is an update on the individual draft for passive network inventory, as we have just touched upon a few times. So the status update, we have published a 0.3 version of the draft, which does only one change to make adjustment to the front page author list per IETF guidelines. And also we have discussed this on the last IETF, and then basically we had in the consensus that the work for passive inventory modeling is in the scope of IV. And there were also comments received from the last discussion. Basically, the definition of the passive inventory needs a bit more clarification before the working group adoption. But otherwise, we have the document with the changes in a stable state. So the discussion about the definition of passive inventory, basically, there is a description in the current version which describes about what a passive infrastructure is referring to, but probably it did not spell out clearly about the definition for passive inventory. While at the same time, we also have in the base model, which defines what network inventory is about, basically a collection of data for network devices and their components. We had a couple of discussions, so here we make like an initial proposal, which is just a starting point for discussion, and we definitely will have we'll go through all those discussions on the weekly calls and on the mailing list. But basically, what we are thinking is The passive inventory it contains a collection of inventory objects, which is related to the network infrastructure that are not powered and has no direct management communication. And they are used to realize the underlying physical infrastructure, which by definition carrying signals through a network, right? And then some further descriptions about what passive inventory might include. It could include elements like optical cables and fiber segments and you know all those typical elements that consists of the supporting infrastructure that does not actively process or forward or control the network. Yeah, so this is the basically the initial proposal, but as I said, we need to discuss it and formulate this in the draft. With that, I can stop here. Maybe we can have some quick discussion and comments.
Mahesh speaking as a contributor. I like this a lot better than coming into it without knowing exactly what is being considered. So just one, maybe it's only a nit on my part. I was trying to understand the third line that says that I used to realize the underlying physical infrastructure. The only clarification I would like is, so you have two cables that are, one is that is actively connected to and being used between two boxes, and a cable that's just sitting there. Are both in scope, or it's only the one that is being actively used?
That's a good point. I mean, as a contributor, I would say all this used or unused cables should be part of the inventory.
So if you have 100 cables sitting in a closet somewhere,
yeah.
Now you're saying we need to document all of those.
Well, I mean, it's if the operator choose to track that in the inventory, yes.
I mean, it's optional. Maybe you have one unused that you want to track and 100 unused that you don't care about.
Right.
Because
So,
typically, you know, you have an operator which has cable laying around very geographically, you know, stretching through multiple regions, right? It might not be connected to the network, but that was one of the assets that they, I shouldn't call it assets, but that's
okay.
the element that they are really interested in keeping it.
So it's what I guess I'm trying to get to is the intent. So if the intent, as you say, is these objects are, in the last sentence, you say these objects are maintained for purposes such as identification, location, connectivity, and lifecycle management. An actively used cable certainly will count as that, but how is something that's sitting in a closet being identified, for example? I mean, you will be naming all of those cables. You will have definition for a language for them of where they're located.
Well, you don't necessarily need to track those, but in the case that you need to track those that are still not deployed or not connected, right? You might as well do this with the inventory.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's totally optional. You have the right to basically it's still in scope, but depending on your use case, you might want to track all those unused cables.
Okay. I mean, I'll let the work group decide if they want it or not.
Okay. So let me get to the next ones. Yeah, it's just our next steps would be just, like I said, to discuss the definition and incorporate it into the work, and also we have seen quite a very strong interest with very good support to consider this work as being standardized. And there's also, because the passive inventory is widely managed or considered in particularly in for access domains, because there are a lot of passive passive elements between within the access network. So basically, we would consider or request a working group for the adoption of this work once we have addressed the definition. And there are still a couple of other open issues. Basically, we still need to discuss whether we should model the passive device as a special case of network elements, which means to augment, to make this model augment the base network model, which is not the case today because passive device is still modeled as a individual, as a separate form of device. But those work can still be carried even after working group adoption as part of the working group process. So we have a GitHub repository, and then we discuss and we plan to discuss this work during the the Ivy design team slot on Wednesday, 10 to 11. Anyone can are welcome to join the discussion. Yeah. That's it.
Other comments? No. Thank you. Thank you, Ayua.
The next one is the entitlement management. I think Diego has, yeah, thanks for coming on time.
I'm sorry, I was asked to act as delegate in the sustain group. Well, basically, this is an update on the entitled inventory draft. And basically, what we have been working is trying to be be worth of having the adoption. That there is a quite thorough update of the document, including that we have had a new author that is sitting over there in the to my left, and well, basically the original document, what we were discussing, and we get some questions and comments, is that well, it was just basically trying to define the basic concepts and the general trees that could be used. Once we seemed that we got a consensus of the group that this was something that it was worth, what we have done is precisely review this in depth and come with a detailed, a complete module definition, updating everything, and providing a set of examples trying to illustrate why things may be, or well, to illustrate how things can be extremely simple or how things can be get complicated if you have a complex situation of a multi-vendor environment of different pieces of software and hardware, and try to illustrate what is which are the main considerations that you have to make, and how this can be implemented using the model. So we have trying to make a much focused definition, taking into account the feedback from the different discussions on the mailing list and direct interactions that we have on what is capability, what is entitlement, what is that an entitlement is installed, whether there are restriction, and what we mean when we're talking about assets. The capability model has been somehow streamlined, and we have made a clear, or we have defined a clear extension pattern and a more detailed and formal definition. You know that there is ongoing work that won't be presented in this IETF, because Nigel, that is our main author, has been busy with other other stuff, but we're working with him in a more detailed formal definition of the whole about capabilities and how we reason with that. So, but what we have done is taking a practical approach, I believe, to capabilities and what the capability is that is enough and is not incompatible. And this is something that we are coordinating with Nigel to guarantee that this is keeps being compatible. And we have made, as part of the work in the module definition, etc., we have managed to have a more precise anchoring of entitlements and how these they are connected to the base models. Something that is important, apart from the model, apart from the detailed tree, apart from this, is that we propose as well sort of 5 maturity levels on how this could be adopted, from a very, very base thing that is, well, you have your collection, the collection of your entitlements, that is one of the integral parts of your inventory. You have a collection of licenses or or permissions to execute certain software, tokens or whatever. This is from that basic model to the highest maturity is what you're not only aware of which are the entitlements, where are they installed, how are they used, which are what are those entitlements entitling you to do, but as well analyzing which are the the restrictions and how that can impact the different entitlements. So from the first level in which you have a centralized set of entitlements, and well, you expect that everything will go right till the moment in which what you know is precisely, or you can model precisely what you have in each individual element and how they are restricted in the particular use. These are the 5 maturity levels that are analyzed. They are, I mean, they build one on top of the other. So that's the idea, is that you can have, you can be at maturity or the level 3, and that implies that you can address 2 and 1 and reply to the questions that appear there that are basically what is associated with each one of these levels. The model is totally new. I was watching Bob presenting the changes, etc., of the topology, etc. I have not made any changes. I mean, illustrating this because the model is totally rewritten. There was new identifiers, etc. So it's something that basically the message is new, and it has it's based on the same idea that we were talking about entitlement. As you hold the entitlements are part of the inventory, and the different elements that can be associated by reference or explicitly, and that is something that. Let me say this is the tree as it is seen. The model is detailed in the document and will be well, for sure, open to discussion. And we have been working on 8 different examples that cover. Well, we have different degrees of complexity. In terms of modeling. Ideally, should not be very complex to understand what is intended in each one of the examples. But the idea is the modeling can be more complicated because we are talking about modeling more complex real relationships. And if you look at the key concepts that you have there, the title we have assigned, the complexity we believe that they have in terms of modeling, the key concepts around, and something that I believe is the most important thing is which are the operational questions that you have that comes from, and let me say so, that of real operational experience as trying to run multi-vendor, widespread infrastructure. And for example, things that are that can become critical. Things like, well, what are the good? If we start with the understanding what would refer to an entitlement and what refer to a network asset, but things that are more complex, like for example, upgrades and dependencies, or how to manage pool licenses, or how to unify or try to unify mechanisms from different vendors. So you understand what you can do, though even in the case that you have different specific format coming from the vendors. So this is there in the text. It's trying to clarify it for sure. Right now, and this is something that we were discussing before coming here, whether this should be part of an appendix or not, because they are examples. This is something that we can discuss when the document matures. With this, we consider that the document is essentially completed. Everything that we wanted to have in the document is now in the document. Should not need from our side, or we expect not to need much more detail or extensive work in creating more Yang or more trees or concepts. And what we believe is start to an in-depth review of everything once we pass the conceptual level, and now we are in let's say more concrete level. So any comments that come from the working group, the young doctors, I guess the young doctors will have many things to say. And for sure, well, I don't know about the nominating a shepherd, etc. So let's go. I mean, about what we expect is that from this moment on, start the more formal process of validating what the document is there. Once everything is there, we hope we will be able to be for last call.
Shepherd is a bit early, but for the rest is okay.
Well, that depends. I was appointed as shepherd of a document when it was just adopted. So that's yeah.
Hi, Kent Watson. I apologize if this has been discussed before, but I was hoping to see in this work, I thought it would be in this work, maybe it's somewhere else, but stepping back from licenses and just talking about capabilities of a device, let's pick a device that does VPNs. So it might have a variable called max num VPNs. And that is a variable that could be, the value could be changed. I would imagine that that variable, the value, to exist in a system data store. I know Shufan is one of the authors of System Data Store, but I would think it'd be in the system data store. The system is aware there's a value called maximum VPNs. How does the value get set? Well, it could be set based on the hardware. If it's a low-end device like an X100, it can do 100 VPNs. If it's an X1000, it can do 1,000 VPNs. So it's hardware-based. Or maybe it's running the 1.0 version of the code, and that version allows you to do 3 VPNs, but now you get the 2.0 version and you can do 5 VPNs. Or a physical card is inserted, and because the physical card is inserted, now you can do 10,000 VPNs, right? None of this is related to licenses. However, you could purchase a license that says plus 100 VPNs, plus 500 VPNs. So the ability to modify the value. So all of this, I'm thinking, okay, I'm expecting there to be a variable defined in the system data store that's modifiable based on hardware type, software version, operating system version, presence of other system resources, and potentially licenses that have been installed. Is this in scope of this work, or is it
of this document, not of the other document that I mentioned? Yes.
Okay. More capability than.
Yeah.
And does it?
We just decided to split this because the discussion on capabilities was somehow making very complex this idea of having an inventory of the licenses.
Okay. So in that other document, does it speak to the variable existing system data store?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay, perfect.
So it's right now it's a 00 or a 01.
Okay.
So
perfect.
it's
okay. Then with this document, I was trying to read the Yang very quickly, and there's a little bit of an eye chart. But is it the case that the entitlement, the license, can like plus 100, plus 500?
It should. Yeah.
Adding.
And if not, we would have miserably failed, and then you will tell us. You will tell. No. I mean, no, but that's the idea precisely, because originally we started precisely from that point and say, well, no, let's think about we have assets, we have capabilities, we have very abstract things that can be enabled by licenses or can be enabled, as you said, by a hardware update or whatever. And then we enter the problem that is something that the group or our understanding of what the group wanted was something practical, quick, the same way that we have the base model. And we wanted, and for us, and I can I can speak for Camilo, my colleague that is working in NTT, and myself. It was something. I mean, this kind of in the inventory, as I would say, the economic things that you have is very important to say, well, I have paid for the licenses, I want to have this.
Okay, great. Thank
But you're right, totally right, and that's why we are thinking about the capability
It seems you founded the first reviewer.
model.
Yuan Yuan, go ahead.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Yaya, and first time to come to this IB meeting here. And I have a quick question about like the 5 levels you mentioned on your slide. So should like the 5 slides in a strict ordering of picking, or the operators can
It should that this is as it is. If it is planned, is that's yes. You need to get to 4. You need to go with 3, 2, 1, 1.
Okay, I thought it was like the operators can pick based on their needs and not.
No, well, the idea is that the model is designed so when you have the let's say for supporting capability reporting, you need to. I mean, capability reporting in the restricted capability environment that we're talking about. No, what Ken was asking for, you need to be aware. To be aware of which are the general entitlements you have, plus which entitlements are available or installed in each network device. Otherwise, you cannot say I can do this or that. So the idea is that they are stacked, so to say.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no, I saw it alone. I was not sure.
When you stand up, we are all scared.
Okay, I'm presenting on behalf of the members, team members of the hackathon. We had an hackathon on Saturday and Sunday this week on testing the IVI data model, and we would like to present a bit of the results. So what was the hackathon built upon? Was built upon a network and a network and a controller from Huawei, which were in a living lab. So there was a live network, and also there was an inventory from China Unicom who were retrieving data from the Huawei controller. And then we extracted the JSON code, we handled to Siena, and they did a similar job on their own inventory role. And we showed that there is a way to get the same data to show the same data getting from the same Neanderthal model source. What we showed that was basically we implemented in the hackathon an old version of the draft, which was actually the latest working group document in CCAMP before we moved the work in the Ivy. But most of the definitions there are already common to the current model. And the network environment, the test was about 4 nodes with some modules and ports and transceiver modules inside. And there was some shown in the China Unicorn Orchestrator. There was a screen where you can see what are the network elements that have been retrieved from the controller, as well as all the components that are on the rich network element. We registered a video. If you're interested, you can see more details if you go to the YouTube. And there is a live demo on this stuff. And then after that, we send the JSON code to Nigel, and he's shown this into Siena. There was some minor work that he had to do because they had to adapt the old version into a new version. So there was an adaptation of the models, different version of the model, but the changes were quite minor because the 2 models are very close together, and they were able to show more or less exactly the same. They were able to show exactly the same data that was retrieved to the Neanderthal model, and we have 2 screenshots also in these 2 slides. And okay, so the list of the team members, so the people who worked on the hackathon. Unfortunately, I had to prepare the PDF. The tool screw a little bit up. We have a GitHub repository where you can see the JSON code and the presentation that was presented in the hackathon wrap-up. And you have in the full video on YouTube already mentioned. And now the plan is to have further work in IETF. So what are the conclusions after this? We think that the model, we proved that the model is quite mature. So we are on the right track. And also the adaptation of between an old and new version required minimum efforts, which is also good. And we also, now the plan is to have another hackathon, IETF 126. We are collecting interest. We will discuss this plan for the hackathon in next weekly course on Wednesday. So anybody is welcome to join. And I think Nigel will be the main driver for the next hackathon.
Please, Nigel.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Thanks, Italo. And yeah, we haven't actually posted any information about the hackathon yet. So we will be doing that on the hackathon site, obviously, for IETF 126. He says, trying to remember the number. I'm not very good with numbers today. But yeah, so the intention is to pull in other vendors to work with us. We're looking for operator support for this as well, obviously, so we don't want to just do the hackathon for the sake of it. So we want to make sure the operators are on board and in fact want to sponsor without money, obviously, our activity. And we've got a structure similar to one we showed here. This was from our perspective. Thanks, Italo. Thank you. From our perspective, yeah. So thank you. So we're aiming for multiple controller roles and multiple inventory roles in the 126 hackathon, so we can sort of try out some of their pieces and also look at comparison with Between Ivy and Tappy to see if there are things that we want to introduce into Ivy that we've got in Tappy, or alternative things we'd like to take out of Tappy because they're not necessary. But and there's a line of sight to further work beyond that as well, which will play out in that hackathon. And the aim is to do a similar sort of test, but to add further data in, etc. So it's hopefully, from my perspective, this was a very good. I'll call it a dry run. It was a wettish dry run because we actually had proper data and so on. But so we didn't connect, as you can see the dotted line on there. We actually just took the JSON file and plugged it in just behind the connection part of our adapter. And as Italo said, with a tiny bit of work to deal with the version differences between our implementation and the WARA implementation. It was we got the right output. There's a couple of mappings you'll notice if you look at it in detail that we got the same field and the same value in several columns of our table, but we felt it was maybe slightly ambiguous with respect to what we were displaying as to which way we should map it. So we just did a bit of an over map, but it was very straightforward really to deal with. Not to downplay the designer's work. I mean, he was in India not till pretty late until when we got the JSON initially, but it didn't take very long once we got the JSON to get it running reliably. So it was good, very good.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And I think that's it.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a very good rest of the week and of the day. Thank you.